You've decided to do the big lap. So where do you start? There are many reasons why people decide to hit the road. Annual leave, long service leave, retirement, just leaving the rat race, taking the kids to discover Australia or whichever country you happen to live in, or maybe just trying to escape. We live in a changing world and the pressures can start to get on top of us. Okay, so we've made up our mind. We're going somewhere. But where? And more importantly, when? Do we go north for winter? Do we travel to the southern regions in summer? How hot will it get? And how cold? Is it 40 degrees during the day and 0 at night? What clothing should we take and how much? Remember that weight is a major consideration, especially in a caravan. Are you camping or caravanning? Camping without a trailer gives you more flexibility as to where you can safely go. You may have to turn around at some stage and the tracks can get very narrow, as well as sandy or bumpy or muddy. A decent camper trailer will handle most of this, but a caravan is generally wider and not designed for off-road. And that means, do you intend going off-road? You can park the van in the caravan park and tour, but an unexpected attraction will undoubtedly crop up at some stage between towns. I can't comment on RVs, buses and whiz-bangs. You know, those high-ace type vans that go whiz-bang every time they close a door. I've never experienced them, but much of what I'm talking about here would be relevant, I would think. Okay, so where do you want to go? Do you have a destination in mind? How far is it to get there? And how much time do you need to do the trip? If you live in Melbourne and plan on doing the Gibb River Road, it's a tad under 4,000 kilometres to get to Kununurra, and then another 50 kilometres to get to the Gibb River Road. The road is 660 kilometres long if you don't do Columbaroo and do all the side trips. Allow 10 to 14 days to do the trip, and then you've got to get back to Melbourne. And you've got how long for holidays? 5 weeks is not going to be enough without potentially adding a whole heap of stress. Plan your trip to fit in with the time that you have available, and expect that you may have something go bust or hold you up. When planning your trip, check whether you need permits. Do you have paper maps? Are you relying on Google Maps or a dedicated GPS? Do not go anywhere or blindly follow a GPS before thoroughly checking a paper map and getting a picture in your head of where you're going. Remember that Google Maps may not work when you get out of signal range. There are free apps that work everywhere, including Maps.me, Osm and Organic, which all work on the Android platform. I also use an app called GPS Coordinates, which will give you your exact position. I can then find out exactly where I am on a map using Aussie Explorer software. I use a Hammer GPS, which comes supplied with a full set of maps. So how are you financing the trip? Do you have a bank balance that is able to finance the trip and leave you with enough at the end to buy a loaf of bread and some milk when you get back home? Or are you looking to work your way around? Or are you a pensioner and doing it from week to week? Do you intend using caravan parks or Freecamp? In 2021, I decided that I wanted to visit Cameron Corner. I had no time frame, I'm retired, and I live in my caravan. I have a modest bank account that I had no desire to touch if I could help it. My strategy was to work within my fortnightly pension, keeping in mind that I had insurances and the like to cover as well as food and fuel. I allowed myself $300 per week for fuel. I knew that I could get at least 4 kilometres per litre. I had a 145 litre tank, and I worked on fuel costing $2 per litre. Keeping an eye on how things were going is important, and so a number of years ago I created a spreadsheet that when I fueled up completely calculated my current fuel economy, my overall average fuel economy, total distance travelled, total fuel used, and total fuel expenditure, all from me entering the odometer reading, number of litres, cost per litres. That's it. I also had the cost of camping, repairs and servicing, gas refills. I had a notebook in the cab and transferred the information into the laptop each night. By overestimating the cost of fuel and underestimating my fuel consumption, it didn't hurt when I had to pay a big price on the odd occasion for fuel because I was within my budget. I did pay an extra $535 for unleaded for my generator, but that was more than offset by the fact that I free camped. That was 117 days at $4.35 per night. In 2021, I was on the road for 4 months, and I spent 22 nights in caravan parks. The rest of the time, 95 nights, I free camped. I would drive until my $300 was spent, and then find a spot and would stop for 2 or 3 nights, and utilise my time editing and doing my blogs and the like. My total caravan park spend was just $490, and $270 of that was in one park, at Roebuck Plains for a week, whilst waiting for a clutch slave cylinder replacement. Remember what we said about allowing time for something to go bust? You just may have to wait a week or more to just get a repair or service booking. Caravan parks are great places to get the washing done, drop the van whilst having a look around, give a sense of security, but are usually crowded. And weren't we here to get away from all that living on top of one another that one does in the city? They're also not cheap. You want to support the locals by having a coffee, a bite to eat at the local cafe, check out attractions, maybe grab a souvenir or two, share the dollars around. But when you are forced into a caravan park, only one business owner gets looked after, and you can be sure that they're on the council ensuring that you can't freecamp. Is free camping safe? I personally have never had a problem. I'm sure that there are probably some horror stories out there, but I've heard of people being disturbed in caravan parks as well. I usually look for a metal dump, a disused quarry, or a gravel pit. I'm not concerned about being seen from the road. Passing traffic could well be your saviour. Being hidden away? Well, you're hidden away. Because I live and work in my van, I'm a generator user. I camp well away from people, and if someone parks close to me, why do they do that? I advise them that the Jenny will probably run until 7 p.m. when I can switch to working using the inverter. People complain loudest about generators who usually also light campfires without checking whether you have asthma or allergies. Please be aware. Many travellers use apps such as Wikicamps to get their information for free camping. Personally, I don't use an app, knowing that in all probability the site will be well occupied, and I prefer to camp alone, being a generator user and all. I have learned what to look for, and have never had a problem finding something on 7 laps of the country. If I'm having a long day, I'll start looking about 3:30 to 4:30. Quite often I'm pulled up by 2:30 in the afternoon. There are fuel apps, such as Fuel Map, that is consumer driven, and so fairly current prices are available if planning ahead. Communication. There is only one telco to travel with, and that is, whether you like them or not, Telstra. Be aware that not all Telstra carriers deliver the full deal. There are vast distances where there is no signal. A nearby Aboriginal community or mine site may well have a communications tower. I purchased a Cell-Fi Go booster, which, if there is a trace of signal, does pick it up. Maybe enough for phone, not necessarily for data. There are other systems. Your phone might work outside, but inside, the signal will probably not get through the walls of your van. The booster helps overcome this. Download the coverage map for your telco. In 2019, I had a separate module for internet data and the phone. I was paying for two items, one which became faulty and stopped working. At the end of the trip, I changed my phone plan to a large data plan and simply hotspotted the phone. A small tip: returning to WA in 2021, I needed to try and organise an isolation place before I was allowed across the border, and I couldn't get any phone communication. People around me were talking on their phones and I was getting nowhere. Finally, in desperation, I reset the mobile network settings. Problem solved. If you don't have one, get a UHF radio, either fitted or handheld. I travel with mine scanning, but set to channel 40. That is the road transport or truckies channel. Keep an eye on the mirrors, and if you see a truck coming up behind you, talk to the driver so that you both know what is happening. In the main, they are very helpful. And if you're travelling in convoy or talking to someone else, do it on another channel. Don't clog up channel 40. Also, be aware that you will hear some fruity language on occasion when truckies are having a chat with each other. It's their workplace. Don't interfere. A pair of handheld radios are a boon when reversing a caravan and will save a potentially splintering relationship when one partner is trying to guide the driver into a camp spot. And these are fine for talking to the truckies as well. Before you leave, get the car serviced. Replace all belts and hoses and throw the discarded parts into your toolbox and take them with you. Get a bottle jack and a cross wheel brace and make sure that your spare wheels are all in good order. I'd suggest a compressor pump is essential and have a tyre pressure gauge handy. Check your caravan wheel nuts. It's not fun finding you've got a wheel missing and you don't know where you lost it. Also invest in the Travelmate jack and make sure that the caravan has the fittings for it to fit onto. Makes it a hell of a lot easier pumping or changing wheels on a caravan. Drive with your lights on. Be seen. You might be able to see, but can they see you? The sun could be behind you. You could be in wet conditions, or you could be blending in with the road. I have my lights wired into the ignition so that they turn on automatically when I start the engine and turn off when I turn the engine off. Too many times I've come back to the car and found a flat battery because I forgot to turn the lights off. If you're towing a caravan, which is wider than your car, and most are, irregardless of whether you have a reverse camera on the van, you must legally have towing mirrors attached to your vehicle. You must be able to see down the full length of your trailer. And if you're towing, check your owner's manual. The usual instruction is, don't tow in an overdrive gear. Remember that the quicker you drive, the more fuel you use. At 1 kilometre per litre, difference in consumption with a 145 litre tank, means 145 kilometres more or less distance travelled with that tank full. And at a lot over $2 per litre in most places, that gets expensive. Test and know what your likely fuel consumption is likely to be. And don't forget that not only speed, but wind direction can make a huge difference. Yes, you are allowed to travel at 100 kilometres per hour, but the odd wreckage on the side of the road does make you wonder whether it's worth it. And you're on holidays, so what's the hurry? Should you carry fuel? I carried unleaded for my generator, otherwise, no. Unless I intend doing an off-road excursion of a distance that was outside the range of the vehicle, maybe. You'd see vehicles with a rack of fuel containers on their roof rack. It's extra weight and it's extra height. It's also probably illegal. The roof of your car has a legal weight limit, that it can support, and that includes the roof rack. I would suggest checking this webpage to learn how much you can carry up there. Across the air highway, there are fuel stations every 240 or so kilometres. They have been known to run out, but I personally have never had a problem. If in doubt, top up at every roadhouse and have enough cash to pay for the fuel should the FPOS be down. That has happened. I hope this has answered, if not all of your questions with regard to preparing for the big lap, at least some of them. I have no doubt that there's stuff I've forgotten about, or indeed didn't know to start with. There will be some of you who disagree with some of what I've said. These are my observations and my thoughts based on my experiences. And I'd be happy for you to add to or query my thoughts in the comment section below. If you found this helpful, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. It helps in suggesting to YouTube that they should promote this channel to others. Thank you for watching and happy travelling. If you enjoyed this video, there are over 500 more just like it on this channel. Subscribe and hit the notification bell and we'll let you know when the next video is available. If you liked this video, hit the like button and feel free to share with your friends. Thanks for watching.